I'm Isa Kutan. Welcome to Asian Agribest Podcast, bringing you interviews and updates on the animal protein community throughout Asia from your trusted provider of news and market intelligence. In this episode, our regional correspondent Meliana is speaking with Suresh Nitirajan, an associate professor in the Animal Sciences Department, Wageningen University and Research in the Netherlands. His background is in bioengineering and sensor technologies, and he is focused on bringing solutions to improving animal health and welfare through enabling digital technologies. He currently serves as the associate editor for the Frontiers in Animal Science and Sensors journal. He's here to talk about how big data can help forecast the future of farming, not just by detecting but predicting diseases even before they happen.
Good morning, Dr. Suresh. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Meliana.
Our topic today focuses on big data in detecting animal diseases. Why don't we start with your explanation? What big data means, as there is still some confusion about it. Can you offer some examples?
Yes, Meliana. So when we use the word big data, it means a large or a huge volume of data. The data that cannot be stored or processed using the conventional, traditional computing approaches within a given time frame. So more often, the terminology big data is sometimes confusing. So when we generally speak, when the data is in terabytes or petabytes or exabytes, or even larger than that particular size or volume, we can call that as a big data.
How can detecting animal disease be optimized with big data? What accuracy does big data offer?
So when we look at the animal disease detection, big data can help the farmers and animal caretakers to go from not just detecting the disease, but predicting the particular disease or the disease incidence even before it happens. So the goal of big data is to uncover patterns that were once considered invisible or not possible. So how do we go about looking for connections from various data sets to help forecast the future of the smart farming? Valuable insights can possibly emerge from the animal management that was once hidden before the collection of the data online. So data comes from a variety of sources. For example, it could be a video data or image data that captures the chickens, poultry, cows, pigs, and etc. Or it could be the sounds of these different animals, how different dairy cows and pigs makes variety of sounds. Or even it could be movement or activity, how long the cow is sitting, how long the cow is walking around, lying down, how often the cow is going and feeding the water or the feed station, etc. Sometimes we could also, from the data, look at how these animals interact with one another. If there are 200 cows in a particular farm, how one cow more often interacts with another cow or a calf. Those kind of social interactions can also be determined and quantified. So all kinds of data can be obtained from the animals with the current emerging sensor technologies. So these data, when they are coming in, they will help us to characterize the behavior, the functioning capacity of the animals, the mood, or even the happiness or the specific aggressiveness or cannibalistic behavior of these animals, in addition to the possibility of sickness or diseases. How long will it take for these animals to gain body weight based on the current feed consumption ratio? And similar information can also be obtained based on sensor technology enabled big data. In the past, what we used to do is we sometimes we take management decisions based on the group level or the herd level. Now, with the big data, we can actually look at individual animal and understand the per animal need, and we could take care of the animal in a better manner for both enhanced production and also better welfare management.
How does it work? At what kind of equipment is needed? What would the capital outlay be?
So when we use the word equipment, maybe we could say as the tools. So there are many kinds of tools available nowadays. Apache Hadoop, Spark, Flink, Kafka, Storm, or some of the tools commonly, typically used for big data analytics. Some of these are not real hardware components. These are not like a computer we buy and install in the farm and then it's done. No, it's not like that. These are some of them are real hardware components. They are connected via local area network to the server. High performance computing resources, servers, cloud based architecture are some of these platforms that would be basic requirements for big data analytics. In addition, you would also need some specific softwares and visualization solution platform so that the farmers can not fiddle with the complex numbers. They just know how to make decision by simple visual interface by some figures or graphs in the iPad or specific platforms, decision support systems they use. So there are nowadays also open source tools and platforms available that can bring down the cost. This means cost can really vary a lot. It could be also depends on context based and volume driven, how big the farm is, how often we are looking at collecting the data, what kind of decision we are looking at making. That would decide the capital outlay. We also have to take into account the costs for the people involved, because they are the one who is going to create critical insights, put things together, and develop solutions. So people, when I say data scientists, data engineers, who can get things done by analytical approaches.
Okay, Dr. Suresh, you mentioned that big data can help the farmers not just detecting, but predicting the disease even before it happens. Could you tell us what diseases are investigated?
This is a very fascinating area of research. There are many research groups and also private big industries currently involved in this specific focus. For example, when I walk into a poultry industry, there are at least 300 to 500,000 of laying hens or broilers in the poultry barn. There are so many sensors, cameras taking continuously collecting videos, sound, microphone based detection, and then the egg, how many eggs are produced per day based on the number of birds, what is the feed intake, temperature, humidity, air circulation changes, body mass index or body score condition of these birds. So there's a variety of, and then the feed nutrient composition, we take this into account. That's inside the farm. But outside the farm, when we look at it, the different logistics behind it, who are the suppliers for the feed, who are the producers, who are companies that buy the eggs and the broiler chickens at the end of the day, that we have to consider. We also have to consider the weather pattern. What is the everyday changes in the weather? Because the climate change and the environmental impact also contributes to diseases for these chickens in this particular example. So the one way is, how do we go about predicting avian influenza even before they happen? We know that specific high pathogenic variations such as H5N1 or H5N13 virus strains can basically cause these avian influenza, and sometimes we have to completely quarantine these farms. So what are the indicators of changes in the welfare and the health? So when I say the indicators, if there is a small deviation in these multiple heterogeneous complex variety of multimodal data that are happening in a moment by moment basis on a daily farm management in poultry, this tiny little variation, can we be able to pick up those small cues 3 months in advance, 4 weeks in advance? So by using specific machine learning and computational approaches via artificial intelligence, we can know how this particular indicator is connected to the disease or the welfare impairment or welfare sacrificing parameter. So we can connect to those. So once we have an idea, then we could say, hey, you know what? I can say with 95% confidence that within 3 weeks, your birds are going to get sick. You need to immediately provide vaccination or change the hygiene protocol that's currently being used in the poultry farm. So that's just an example for avian influenza. Similarly, for bovine respiratory disease and the porcine diseases can also be possible.
What are the challenges in getting farmers or producers to accept and implement big data programs? How can these challenges be addressed?
Okay, so what are the challenges in enabling farmers to implement big data programs? So when I look at it, there are two types of challenges farmers could potentially face in using big data, especially in the Southeast Asian countries and other Asian countries. One I would call as an organizational challenge. The second one is a technical challenge. Nowadays, farmers are much more, they have smartphone access, they are very much ICT literate. And also the internet speed is slowly becoming faster in the rural areas. Lots of government initiatives helping to provide access to internet. So the technical challenges can be a little bit easily solved better compared to the organizational challenges. Also, when we show the farmers that, hey, you know what, if you adopt this big data based program, your return on investment is going to be higher, they will immediately embrace. It's much easy for them to adapt and learn and use the technologies. But how do we go about making the big database solutions affordable for small scale farmers? Because at this moment, when we speak, it's a bit expensive for developing countries. So the idea here is if there are many users, then the cost can come down. So initially, for perhaps there can be subsidies by the government to encourage and allow the farmers in terms of boosting the number of farmers to use big data based solutions. And later, the cost can come down over a period. Using sensor technologies, we could also automate rather than manually person go and collect data. If we can emphasize a bit more automation in processing the data, then this specific automating data acquisition can bring down the time and the labor involved, and then the overall cost can also come down. So this would allow easy access and adoption of these technologies. We also have to consider privacy and security issues and ownership of the data when providing and enabling the access to the farmers. So how do we allow and enable the farmers to own the data, as the data is basically collected in her or his farm and not the individual private companies? So who owns the data here? How do we ensure that the ownership is being provided to the farmers? What kind of common data exchange facilities be created by government? It's like a co-op government funded, subsidized. So many farmers can access these platform, these facilities. It's a not-for-profit as a farmers co-op organization to allow easy access of big data enabled tools and technologies for farmers. I call this as a digital inclusiveness or innovation for everyone, irrespective of their scale of farming. So there are some ways to overcome these few challenges. We also have to consider when data is collected, sometimes they are inconsistent and they are not compatible. So the quality of the data that's collected has to be useful. So there should be some ways to enhance the quality of data during the acquisition and the collection period. If the availability and the quality of the data is not very good, then the big data programs may not be able to provide useful solutions. But of course, the instrumentation can obviously provide solutions to ensuring validation and other ways of data filtering, noise removal to obtain a much better quality data.
Okay. The next question, what can the industry expect in the future? How can big data revolutionize the animal health industry?
So obviously, big data will cause drastic changes in the scope and the way the smart farming is being conducted. Business analytics at a scale and speed that was never seen before will be developed, and these can be a real game changer and will also create possibly new business models for farmers and the farming sector and the agribusiness community. There will be a shift in the power dynamics, mainly because of the data ownership. So, because of the role of the government and the involvement of private and international organizations in these interconnected farming sector, this may help to position and increase the voice of the farmers in a strong and more positive manner. Animal health industry can also benefit greatly due to the ability to access real-time data, real-time forecasting, and tracking of the biological factors related to diseases. And also because of the Internet of Things, it will help to save resources, time, and energy for the individual farmers.
How long will it take for industries in Southeast Asia to embrace big data technology?
This is a little challenging question because it depends on the domestic product. Higher GDP per capita level is correlated to the greater use of information and communication technologies in Southeast Asian countries. For example, when we look at Malaysia, Singapore, and also Taiwan, Shanghai, they are in one end. And when we look at the Southeast Asian countries, Indonesia, Cambodia, Vietnam, Philippines, the government is very enthusiastic. They are investing heavily in digitizing the economy. The governments of Southeast Asians have introduced many programs in the past few years. For example, how to go about promoting digitization, digital economy, and other related digital transformation initiatives. We also should recognize the role of the and the involvement of the private and global companies who are driving the digitization of the countries. When I look at the statistics and the World Bank numbers and the World Economic Forum data analytics, I see that there is a larger number of booming startup companies, small to medium scale enterprises are surging in the past few years in the Asian countries, Southeast Asia. Some countries in Southeast Asia, they also have established a digital free trade zone. So how to go about go digital vision. These are some of the initiatives currently happening. So I believe this will definitely promote the long-term economic and big data based technological transformation development. So sometimes when these initiatives are happening, instead of focusing on the short term, the efforts have to be for the long term. So it will be a greater benefit for many stakeholders involved in the agribusiness community.
That means the countries you mentioned are using big data in the animal health industry?
Yes, indirectly and directly, they have been contributing to the decision support system by private sectors and others. The government is also collecting specific data in terms of how many animals are moving over a what period of time, how much feed is basically distributed across a specific province or region, what are the possibilities of the weather fluctuations based on the satellite data. These are all already happening in specific ways. But a bit more cohesive, coherent approach is needed in enabling small scale, medium scale farmers to make use of these technologies.
Okay, thanks a lot for sharing your insight, Dr. Suresh. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you so much, Meliana, for having me. You have a wonderful day.
The animal health industry can benefit greatly from the ability of big data to access real time data, real time forecasting, and tracking of biological factors related to diseases. And the Internet of Things will help it to save resources, time, and energy. Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.